Welcome back to the thrilling crime-solving journey of Xu Qi'an in the Nightwatcher, Chapter 13. The Interrogation. Xu Qi'an watched the man's silhouette fade into the corridor. Despite the confident strides, he wasn't nearly as optimistic. Too many days had passed. Any concrete evidence would have long since vanished. No fingerprints to analyze, no forensic tools. Getting real proof in this era is nearly impossible. Footprints definitely didn't match Zhang Xian's. Aside from that, what else could we use? He combed through every method he knew. Desperate for something usable in this primitive setting. Ellipsis. These useless clerks when there's a fat bribe on the table. They're sharper than a pack of wolves. They could squeeze oil from a stone. But when it's real work, they're dumb as dogs. Magistrate Xu was in a rage behind the walls of the inner hall. A murder case was serious enough. But the victim? A relative of Lord Tu. A censorate official. And the censorate, those so-called upright watchdogs, were infamous in the capital. Self-righteous, relentless, and always ready to tear someone down with a memorial to the throne. A single complaint from them could ruin a career. Beside the magistrate, Chief Secretary Tu, a thin man with a wispy goat beard, laughed dryly. Press them too hard, and they'll start making things up. When it came to official trickery, the low-ranking ones were like schoolchildren. The real players sat in the capital or held sway over entire provinces. Fabricate a case. Magistrate Xu sighed. They can usually get away with it. But with the capital's annual inspection coming up, one false accusation and we'll be torn apart by the auditors. What then? His words were cut short by rapid footsteps. Constable Wang burst into the hall, bowing deeply with restrained excitement. Your Excellency, I have a lead in the Zhang case. Requesting permission to arrest the suspect. Magistrate Xu and Secretary Tu exchanged a glance, one cold, the other intrigued. Seeing their reaction, Constable Wang pressed on. Sir, now's not the time to hesitate. You fool! Magistrate Xu slammed the table, fury flashing in his eyes. Do you think this is the moment for false charges? Are you brain dead? Fabricating a case was one thing. But even that had rules. After a confession, the case file had to be reviewed by the Ministry of Justice. If they found inconsistencies, the entire county administration could be dragged down with it. And now, with inspection season looming, the court was crawling with eyes. Every official was covering their own flaws while looking for cracks in their rivals' walls. This was the season of overturning verdicts and careers. Constable Wang hurried to explain. You misunderstand, Your Excellency. I'm going after the real killer. I swear on my life. This isn't some bluff. Magistrate Xu narrowed his eyes. He knew exactly how competent Wang was and how much he wasn't. Then explain. In detail. Internally, Constable Wang smirked. His moment to shine had finally come. Please, Your Excellency, allow me to break it down. There are numerous inconsistencies in the Zhang case. Let me walk you through them. He began to recount, from start to finish, the full chain of deduction that Xu Qi'an had laid out. At first, Magistrate Xu maintained a skeptical sneer. But as the explanation went on, he slowly sat up straighter. By the end, his expression had shifted into something grave, silent, but deeply thoughtful. Secretary Tu couldn't contain himself. He slapped his thigh with a loud smack, eyes gleaming. Brilliant. Logical. Coherent, it weaves scattered clues into a cohesive narrative. Only someone with real investigative talent could piece this together. Though it still needed verification, the deduction alone had illuminated a path for an otherwise blind investigation. Constable Wang gave a modest nod. You give me too much credit. Magistrate Xu snorted. Cut the act. Who fed you that theory? There was a long pause. Constable Wang considered taking the glory for himself, then let it go. It came from Constable Xu Qi'an. Technically, Xu was just a junior constable, a bounty runner, as some called it. Not even a real official. Xu Qi'an? Magistrate Xu mulled the name. Of course. He'd shared a few drinks with Xu Pingzi, Qian's uncle. Years ago, Xu Pingzi had even paid 20 taels in silver to buy his nephew a spot in the precinct. In Da Feng's system, certain bureaucratic posts could be inherited or outright purchased. It was a stable way to climb the ladder. If it's him, then it all makes sense. The magistrate smiled faintly. Secretary Tu's eyes narrowed, a flicker of insight forming. What do you mean by that? Constable Wang leaned forward, eager to listen. Magistrate Xu leaned back and chuckled. When the treasury heist scandal broke out, the Xu family should have been ruined. Yet somehow, they escaped unscathed. Do you know why? Because Lord Xu from the Imperial Sword Guard helped solve the case. Wang replied immediately. His Majesty showed mercy. That was what Xu Qi'an had told him. Secretary Tu looked intrigued. So there was more to that case. He hadn't been high-ranking enough to learn the full details. But Magistrate Xu, as the local governor of Changning County, had access to inside information. Even if he was a small fish in the capital, nobody kept their seat here without serious backing. Magistrate Xu smirked. Xu Pingzi is a brute, a mere martial man. He was the fall guy. The real savior of the Xu family wasn't him. Then who? Wang blurted out. But Secretary Tu had already guessed the answer. He just needed confirmation. Xu Qi'an, the magistrate said, his voice steady. He was the one who uncovered the truth of the stolen treasury funds. It's in the official records. A colleague of mine working under the prefecture office slipped me the details. Father's crime, son pays the price. Even though Qi'an was just a nephew, the law was flexible when the solution was clean. Secretary Tu drew a sharp breath. But he was in jail during the investigation. How could he have contributed? I thought the same at first, said the magistrate. But now, I understand. Just from reading the case files, Secretary Tu still found it hard to believe. So did Constable Wang. His mind reeled. Hearing the top 3 officials of the precinct speak so candidly, peeling back the layers of hidden political maneuvering, it felt unreal. Had Xu Qi'an truly saved his entire family from execution? Back when the kid first showed up, he was all nerves and naivete. Diligent, sure, but stiff, unimaginative. Definitely not someone you'd call cunning. Now, he was out here solving cases like a master detective. Ellipsis. By the time Constable Wang returned to the office, Xu Qi'an was slumped over a desk, fast asleep. The dark circles under his eyes hinted at a long night of restless thinking. Someone moved to wake him, but Wang held up a hand. Let him sleep. He grabbed 2 constables at random. You come with me. We're heading to the Zhang residence. 3 full constables, each bringing their assistant yamen runners, formed a squad of 9 as they departed the precinct. The assistants, known as white robes, were unpaid, temporary laborers drawn from the common people. No room and board. No pay. But they had one privilege: complete legal immunity. Ellipsis. The sharp cry of, "Stand tall!" jolted Xu Qi'an awake. He wiped the drool from the corner of his mouth and followed the sound to the courtroom. The suspect must have been caught. The magistrate was preparing the trial. Inside, Magistrate Xu sat elevated behind the long judicial desk. Secretary Tu and several guards stood beside him. Below, 3 teams of constables lined the walls, standing like soldiers. At the center, 2 people knelt on the floor. A young man in a green robe embroidered with clouds. And beside him, a stunning woman in a violet silk gown. She looked terrified, her face pale, eyes trembling. But the young man, calm, controlled. Bang! The sound of the gavel echoed through the hall. Who are you? The magistrate's voice boomed. The woman glanced nervously at the man. He gave her a reassuring look before straightening his back. Your humble servant, Xu Qi'an. The woman spoke softly. I am Yang Junzhen. The magistrate's tone hardened. How did the two of you kill Zhang Haoshui? Speak the truth. The woman trembled violently, her long lashes fluttering as fear took over. But Xu Qi'an? He just stared forward, eyes steady and unreadable. Chapter 14. A Battle of Wits. Bang! The county magistrate slammed the wooden block on the table again, his voice booming. You claim to have seen a shadow kill someone and escape over the wall. Then explain this. Why did the officers investigating the garden under the wall find no footprints? No sign of the flowers being trampled. Zhang Yangshi froze, his wide eyes darting nervously. Because. Zhang Qi'an immediately spoke up. Your Honor, how would my mother know how the thief entered? The officers couldn't find anything. So how can you blame us? Mother and son. Xu Qi'an muttered under his breath, unable to tolerate the insult to those words. The magistrate's face turned red with fury. You deceitful mouth. Guards. Punish them. In this time, interrogations were often forced, brutal, and painful. Without evidence, they had no choice but to resort to this. As a result, it wasn't uncommon for people to confess under duress. But there was no other option. Gathering evidence was difficult, and the lack of proper tools or expertise left only torture as a last resort. Both the benefits and harms were clear. Zhang Qi'an shouted, Are you trying to force a confession? Your Honor? My uncle serves as a senior official in the Ministry of Rights. Don't you fear retribution for this injustice? His words struck a nerve. Although the relationship was distant, the Zhang family was indeed a powerful ally. The magistrate's brows twitched in irritation. He knew Zhang's family could indeed cause trouble for him. You dare threaten me? Guards. Give him 20 lashes. 4 officers moved forward, 2 of them holding Zhang Qi'an's neck with crossbows, while the other 2 pulled down his trousers. They began to strike with heavy sticks, the sound echoing throughout the room. Zhang Qi'an screamed in agony, his voice hoarse. The magistrate's face darkened. 20 lashes would not be enough to extract a confession, and 50 lashes might even kill the man. Moreover, if Zhang Qi'an confessed, he could later deny the statement when the case was submitted to the Ministry of Justice, claiming he had been coerced. And with his connection to a senior official, the magistrate could easily be blamed for abuse. Seeing the situation escalate, Xu Qi'an subtly gestured to the magistrate's attendant. The attendant hesitated, then slowly retreated before walking toward Xu. Tell the magistrate to pause the questioning. I have an idea, Xu Qi'an whispered. An idea? What could you possibly have in mind? Don't get me involved in this, the attendant said, skepticism clear in his voice. Continuing like this will get us nowhere. The magistrate is at a crossroads. I believe he'll agree. Once it's over, I'll treat you to a meal, Xu Qi'an replied. Fine. The attendant hurried to the magistrate and whispered in his ear. The magistrate paused, considering for a moment, then slapped the wooden block. Take these 2 into custody for now. Court is adjourned. Inside the magistrate's private chamber, he accepted a cup of hot tea from a servant girl and took a sip. Xu Qi'an had been a government official in his past life, so he understood the unspoken rules of the bureaucracy. He also took a sip from his own cup, savoring it. Xu Ningen, what's your idea? The magistrate asked, his tone surprisingly gentle. There was none of the usual harshness or authoritarian presence. Xu Qi'an was taken aback by the sudden civility. The magistrate, in his previous life, was known for his impatience and sharp tongue. Could it be that after his transition, his demeanor had become more approachable? I can give it a try, Xu Qi'an replied calmly. No need for torture? The magistrate asked, now genuinely intrigued. Of course not. The magistrate leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. Do tell. Xu Qi'an smiled, his voice dropping to a soft, conspiratorial whisper. I must keep it a secret for now. Just wait, and I'll deliver good news. In a quiet holding cell, Duong Tran nervously glanced around, her eyes filled with unease. She had expected the officers to be cruel, but instead, they had just locked her in the room and left. Still, that didn't ease the anxiety gnawing at her. The door creaked open. A young man in the uniform of a constable entered. He was tall, strong, with sharp features, and surprisingly handsome. Don't be so tense, the man said, casually brewing tea with a calm smile. You can call me Sir Xu. Xu? Did he mean Xu Qi'an? Duong Tran had never experienced such courteous treatment and was taken aback, staring at him with wariness in her eyes. Xu Qi'an observed her closely. She was, indeed, a beauty, a woman who had likely caught the attention of wealthy men. Her beauty, though, was still a step below the highest-ranking beauties. Her age was also ideal. In Xu Qi'an's previous life, women in their 30s were considered at their most attractive. I see you're wearing gold and silver. I assume that Trong Hu Tui treats you quite well. Xu Qi'an began the conversation. Duong Tran stayed silent. You know, I really sympathize with you, Xu Qi'an continued. At your age, having been married for years without a child, I think the problem mostly lies with Trong Hu Tui. Her expression faltered. Xu Qi'an's calm tone and approach were unexpected. He didn't seem at all like the harsh interrogator she had imagined. Talking about infertility, something usually blamed entirely on the woman, Xu Qi'an's perspective seemed strangely comforting. Gradually, her guard lowered, and she muttered. It's my fault. My body's not right. After all these years, I finally got pregnant, and then he was killed. Her voice cracked at the end. Dead people don't come back, Xu Qi'an said softly, offering her a small amount of comfort before continuing. Does Trong Hu Tui visit the brothels often? Of course. It's common for rich men or high-ranking officials, she replied. Xu Qi'an smiled wryly. How tragic for you. A woman at 30, like a wolf. At 40, like a tiger. By 50, uncontrollable. Trong Hu Tui, over 50, indifferent to you, yet captivated by the brothel. It's no surprise you sought solace elsewhere. Her face paled, but she didn't speak. But murder is wrong, Xu Qi'an added. Duong Tran's face twisted in confusion. I don't understand. Xu Qi'an leaned forward. I've read the case file. You know, Trong Heen is 7 years younger than you. Duong Tran's face stiffened. What do you mean by that? It means you, an older woman, sought comfort in a younger man, Xu Qi'an said bluntly. Her eyes widened. I don't understand. Let me explain. Xu Qi'an's voice grew cold. Trong Duong, you felt empty, unable to bear the loneliness, so you seduced the young man and did something disgraceful. That night, Trong Hu Tui went to the fields. And you took the chance to secretly meet with his son. When Trong Hu Tui returned early and caught you two together, you grabbed a vase and struck him in the head. To cover up the crime, you dragged his body outside, made it look like a robbery gone wrong, and even had Trong Hien create false footprints on the wall to match your story. Duong Tran's face drained of color as she stared at him. Disbelief written all over her. I didn't do it. I'm innocent, she shouted. Her hands clenched, sweat dripping from her palms. Xu Qi'an's face remained emotionless, his voice chilling. Don't you find it strange that I know all this? Her eyes widened with horror. How do you know? Because Trong Hien confessed. The tension was palpable. Xu Qi'an's unflinching demeanor and his words left no room for doubt. Would she crack under the weight of the truth? Only time would tell.
Thanks for listening till the end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next chapter.